So you guys are super smart getting in early on this video, commenting early. Thanks for watching. Nowadays in TNP, at a certain point, with every video, we'll archive the comments, rewarding those who participate early, just like a lot of forums do. It's been that way for a long time. I think you'll see it catch on more and more on YouTube. So that's the way it's going on here. So thanks for being a part of the nutnfancy project, whether you are a subscriber or a visitor, to learn about a very cool weapon. We've been doing this for, what, 10 years officially? Channel creation 2006. It's now 2016. I got super serious about posting reviews in 2008. During that span of time, we have seen some very cool guns on the reviewing table. Usually the blue reviewing table, right? But of all the presentations I've laid out for you guys, this just might take the cake. Just might take it. It is so cool. The colors, artistically speaking, against the blue, here I go with my artistic side. They just look cool, man. A Tavor and FDE, that is a nutnfancy project. Tavor cast member, love it. X95 on the table. This is my GRV on the X95. If you're interested in my opinion on this gun, you're in the right place. It will be feature length. We'll cover a lot of details. I'll give you the upsides and downsides. No hype, no BS, no TPA. That's the way I do it. Here comes a question. Speaking of comments, it will probably generate about 500 comments. Which video game features the Tavor? Are there video games that feature the X95 Micro Tavor? Do they represent a weapons upgrade? Yeah, I should know the answer to that question, but I don't. I think we talked about it years ago when I did the Tavor review. I forget. Not hip enough, I guess, to play video games, and I'll tell you this, I'm just too busy with real life. That's what I want you guys to do. Get out in real life. Shoot, adventure, live, learn, fail, succeed. Real life. X95. I was thinking about the IDF, its use of the Micro Tavor. I'm not the end-all expert, but I do have an opinion now on the weight. And I'm going to kick off the review and all specifics with that. I think a lot of us American shooters, when we heard that the Micro Tavor was coming to the United States, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, the IDF, they've used the Tavor for a long time, but they've used what the X95, or what they call it, the Tavor 2, for almost a decade. My facts are right. So this is not this one, but its cousin that serves in the IDF, Israeli Defense Forces. It's not new. And when we heard, oh, it's coming to the United States, I think we thought we were going to get a much lighter, much more compact version of the Tavor. That didn't happen. And the reason is, speaking of gun rights, speaking of laws that maybe we don't like so much, is legalities. You know, our legalities that will limit what can be imported. The Micro Tavor, which is basically put together the way I look at it for vehicular use, maybe some CQB house-to-house stuff. I think the regular Tavor will serve fine in that role. I really do. It's pretty short overall length. But the Micro Tavor, even much more so. It had a, or I shouldn't say had, but has a 13-inch barrel. It's lighter than this gun because it's a shorter overall length. It has a much thinner butt pad on it, the Micro Tavor. But lo and behold, it lands in America, and it's not that light. I'm not going to weigh it now because I have a scope and a mount on it right now. I'll tell you this, it's about almost 8 pounds. It's 1 ounce heavier than the Tavor. Disappointing, right? Definitely. Now, viewers who know that I'm huge on SAWC will look at my love for the Tavor, and it's still intact, by the way. It's kind of a departure from what I say a lot about weight. And I was very honest about that in the review. I said, hey, the Tavor is a heavy gun. It feels lighter than it is because of the balance. I'll stick with that. But it's no lightweight. Now that I've gone into modifying, building our own selection of AR-15s, go watch the best AR-15 build in the world. I think that's what I named that video. I'm really, what should I say, a stickler about weight. And I look at this 8-pound weight, that 8-pound weight, very critically. But here's the deal. is we got an IDF combat weapon. And for IDF, they have a certain philosophy. They have 6 points of contact, the way they shoot the Tavor. It's a very distinct philosophy from hand-to-hand combat to military arms use to their tank warfare. I really love that about IDF, by the way. They're very defined in their weapons because they know what they need out of every weapon. It's mission specific, and because they have so much experience, they go, this didn't work for us, that did. One of the reasons this is so heavy, in my opinion, and that's all it is, doesn't count for crap, is because the Micro Tavor is a fully automatic assault rifle. When you have a heavier gun, it's more controllable, right? Ta-da! Especially if you're shooting it around a corner, especially if you're shooting it with one hand. Outside, you know, like out of vehicle. Do you really want something super light then? In the philosophy of use discussion on Tavor, which I will go light here because I think no matter how I try, this will be feature length. I said this is a great motorcycle gun, even at its 8-pound weight, more or less. And I'll stick with that. It's very controllable with one hand. It works great. And you could say that about a number of bullpups. The Steyr AUG, you could say that. The FS2000. Well, I don't really like the ergonomics on the FS2000, but some guys do. You know, it could be a great motorcycle gun or APC gun, as the case may be, or a Bradley IFE gun. But understanding the origin of the gun, where it came from, what it's about, is important to perhaps understanding why it's heavy. What IWI did not do is they go, hey, this is coming to the American market. Let's put a lot of money in changing the components. For instance, under here, you have that milled aluminum Picatinny 1913 rail. And I guess I'll slide these forward so you can see it. It kind of reminds me of the Robinson Arms XCR series, and I criticize that weapon system for being super heavy. And it is, to this day. And they've put a pencil barrel on it, you know, to try to lighten it up a little bit, but still, dude, it is still a heavy gun. Anytime you have a lot of rail, no matter if it's hidden under polymer panels or not, dude, it's going to add weight. But IWI didn't say, hey, let's change it for the American market. We got the same gun, except they had to put a 16-inch barrel on it, right? Which you're looking at right now. And they had to put an extended rubber butt pad on it to meet legalities. So this is the Americanized version of the Micro Tavor, the X95. Question, which would you prefer? That's really the focus of my review, this gun review video. You know, since the X95 came out, is the Tavor still cool? What do you think, Nutton? Is this a better weapon system? I'll break it down for you right now. I still love the Tavor. I love it. There's very few things I don't like about the Tavor other than the weight and the trigger. This one's running a Timney trigger I have in it, and I have a whole separate video out there shooting it off the KTM, I think. With that modification, I'm super happy about it. Now, Tactical Doodle, he'll complain about the angle of the pistol grip. You can tell it's changed here. And also you have interchangeable pistol grip options for the X95. So if you don't like it, you can change it. I haven't really researched or found the replacements. They'll be out sometime. Maybe aftermarket companies will make some too. You know, Manicore, Ratworks, or somebody. So that's better versatility. But I think a lot of guys are getting fooled by the IDF Micro Tavor when they evaluate this gun. They'll go, well, this is really cool. It feels super light. I just don't see it. I mean, we were shooting this gun, and I know it has a supposedly improved trigger. The crew and I, and we just kind of like, yeah, it's a Tavor. You know, we got a watered down version of the IDF weapon because, again, legalities. I know what you guys are thinking. Is there a way I can SBR a Tavor to get the original, you know, 13-inch barrel in there? You know, with this, I didn't really measure it. Would it even fit or come to the end there? I don't even know. Put a thinner butt pad on it, register it, you know, make it legal. Is there a way to do that? Let's talk about philosophy of use super quick, and then we'll go into features, maybe bounce back and forth between the two guns. Really understand philosophy of use when you have that discussion. If you say for second cool, I want a 13-inch barreled assault rifle, in a manner of speaking, awesome. You're not going to hear criticism from me. But if you say for first cool, that is the best assault rifle ever, I'm going to disagree with you.
Ready.
We're shooting a 5.56. It is basically a pea shooter, how I've called it. When you're shooting 77s, it's a lot better, 75s. But 55s, I think, they just hit so softly. Why handicap it shooting it out of a shorter tube? Now, Galad, I think that's the dude's name, IWI guy, we visited with him several times. I like the way he put it. He goes, you know, really, and here we go again with the idea of philosophy. And this is, I'm a military guy, and I really relate to this. It just depends on what the mission is. Maybe I'm in an armored vehicle. I know for a fact I'm going house to house, super cramped quarters. Then maybe the Micro Tavor in their configuration is what he chooses. Maybe in a more battlefield orientation where I have longer shots, I would go the 16 Tavor, maybe an 18-inch barrel Tavor. That, my friends, is smart. That's the way you approach it. But for you to say, hey, you know, 13-inch barrel or a 12-inch barrel, for that matter, AR, piston-driven, you know, tactical carbine, whatever sort description, bullpup, I just don't think it's super smart. You're really cutting the legs off already. I wouldn't say underpowered, but it can be underpowered, especially if you're looking for fragmentation and tumbling at a certain yardage. I think it's what, the threshold is 2,400 feet per second. Don't quote me on that. Me, I don't mind at all the 16-inch barreled X95, just like I didn't mind the 16-inch barreled Tavor at all. I mean, and the 18-inch barreled one. To me, they're still super short. They almost feel like a submachine gun in their overall length, or readily, you know, carried around in whatever application you want. So mission-specific philosophy of use. The other POUs I discussed, play. Defensive carbine, play toy, maybe shooting drills, competitions. It's fun, you know, to run something different versus an AR-15. I've talked about that a lot. I'll just leave it at that. Now I think I'm going to start at the butt end first, which will play good. I'm not going to field strip it for time. I'll talk to it. The takedown is very similar. In fact, the bolt carrier groups between the two guns interchange. They're extremely well made. They have a big, large extractor that we talked about in the original Tavor review. You just push this top pin out and pivot.
The trigger pack would come out separately.
The butt pad out of the way, pull out the bolt carrier group. To remove the trigger pack, it's just these two pins here. Again, that's a Timney trigger. Geisley also makes a really nice trigger. Both of them are super expensive. You'll notice between the two guns, when I think this is cool, and it shows the heritage of the X95 being the Micro Tavor, there is a really big difference, and I don't know if it's visually apparent right off the bat. This distance on the Tavor is longer than the X95, meaning that this gun was designed to be very short. So they moved the magazine closer to the hand grip. You can see the distances right there. They're both 20 round mags. And I don't know. I'm looking at this and I go, I'd really like to see and shoot the original IDF version. I know you're saying the same thing. It'd be lighter, more compact, in a certain philosophy of use, like I said and just talked about. It'd make a lot of sense. Now the bolt release is still right here. It is different. In fact, the whole rear configuration is different. You can see how it flares out more on the Tavor. I never had a problem with the magazine release here. I think there was a discussion and some criticism from people saying, well, I accidentally actuated. I don't remember us having that problem with it. This one's more flush mounted, the bolt release. And it's not, however, guarded like the flare of the butt stock. This is, you know what, this portion right here reminds me of an H&K, like a G36. This looks very G36-ish to me. Lefties, you may like the X95 a little bit better. Make sure I'm not telling you wrong. Fully ambidextrous safety. The magazine release is now right here versus right there. Never had a problem with it here in the Tavor. I just never did. I mean, I'm already going back there to capture the magazine, usually going into a douche pouch. So I was like, yeah, I'm already back there. You know, does every gun have to be like an AR-15? I love AR-15 ergos. I love them. But, you know, it's cool. It's AR-15-ish. It's very close. It's got a fence around it. And like I said, it's fully ambidextrous for our lefty friends. Okay. By the way, I love this coloration. This OD X95 is super, super sick. And lefties, I was going to say, you can acquire replacement parts. I'm sure they're going to be super expensive to change ejection to whatever side you prefer. So, left side, I guess. By the way, in shooting the Tavor and the X95, I don't know if I'm just some fool. I just have never noticed an ejection problem. Like it going into my face or where I'm even thinking about it. I just never even thought about it. X95 is the same way. And I'll show a lot of shooting footage when we shot the X95 as we press on. Talked about the pistol grip already. Let's talk about the trigger. There's a lot of talk about how this is a perfect trigger. You know, well, I wouldn't say perfect, but highly improved over the Tavor trigger. I will say this. It's okay. It's going to pull around 7.5. I'll just pull it super quick for you guys. So 7.1. This is surprising to me because, and I'm just going to be honest with you guys, in shooting the X95, you know, it was Jardine and myself, and we're like, the trigger kind of sucks. I mean, have you heard that yet? Not really. Everyone's acting like it's awesome. I know. But we were just like, yeah, it's okay. Yeah, it's okay. But I found it really tough, actually, to get super good accuracy out of the X95. I don't know where that 20 went. I probably just dropped it. The Tavor trigger, by way of contrast, and I'm kind of going off memory when I shot it a lot. Very crisp. Very predictable break point. I'm talking the stock Tavor trigger. Good reset on it. And easy to get accuracy out of, even though it pulled very stiff. This one seems like it has a less distinct break point to me. And I don't really know when the shot's going to break. That's just me. But, dude, if you don't like it, put an aftermarket in there. I'm sure they're coming. Actually, I'm not sure they're coming. I know they're here because it takes the same trigger pack as a Tavor. They are interchangeable. At least for the later generation Tavors. If you had an earlier one, then they made some changes, maybe not so much. I talked about, you know, is it $300 trigger worth it? What I basically said in that video when I shot out in the desert, probably not. Just learn how to manipulate the stock trigger, whether you're talking X95 or on the Tavor. Okay, another change. And this is actually pretty cool, and I do like this a lot on the X95. The charging handle has moved aft more to the center point of the gun. You can notice its relation to the handle, pistol grip, versus a Tavor, which is forward mounted a la H&K. Never had a problem with that. Never minded it. It's just, I don't mind forward mounted charging handles. Not a big deal. The one thing I do like about this presentation versus that is that it seems to be more low profile. See how the Tavor's is angled, kind of bulkier, and the X95 is more trim. And moreover, since they've moved it away from this area, you have more rail space. So I can mount stuff on the left, on the top, assuming a scope isn't there, on the right side. That's something you don't have with the Tavor. It's not that versatile. We got like a short section of polymer rail, I think just off eBay. Maybe not the best, the toughest, durable thing, but we've actually liked it. I'm running a mini Tapco grip right now. That configuration works great, and it hardly added any weight at all to the Tavor. So the charging handle's actually pretty cool. Magazine release, I briefly mentioned that. It is nice having it here. Don't misunderstand me. My point in saying what I said earlier is I don't think the Tavor's broken. I don't. There are 3 QD cups, one here, one midpoint, one right there if you want to configure it. If you have a light here, you can, you know, there's all types of offset 45-degree QD cups. You could put it on the Tavor for that matter as well. In fact, I think we did run one once upon a time. Okay, moving forward, there's your Picatinny rail. And during the shooting video, you're going to see this, and it's kind of funny. As soon as we got this X95 in the super cool, I'm going to call it Ranger Green. It just looks like Ranger Green to me. I started messing around with it, and I did this. I was just like, you know, you could actually move these grips up since they lock so easily, and I can extend the grasping surface if I don't want to put a VG on, just with the plastic panels. So in our shooting video, you're going to see the polymer panels slid forward. I forgot exactly where we had them, but it's kind of up there. You do have a hand stop on the bottom panel, right? And I'll tell you this, after running them that way, it's an easy way to get more forward on your grip. There's a caveat, it should be obvious to you guys. Your hand is getting closer to that muzzle, and it's probably not an approved solution by IWI at all. So do it at your own risk and be smart about it, just like all dangerous things. I'm going to recommend you don't do it, in fact. Just run them normal. Either take the panels completely off or run them all the way aft, fully locked up, protecting the pick rail. But you can do it, you know. There's other guns that have the same real estate right there. You may notice when I was shooting off the bench, you will see me check it. Before I crank around off, I'm checking it. I'm being super careful. And, you know, just like anything, be careful. 1 in 7 twist, cold hammer forged barrel. I love CHF, man. I love it. But I'll tell you what, I love it more, and I'm going to go ahead into accuracy, when it results in something. And that something should be, yeah, accuracy. I was disappointed on the accuracy of the X95 overall. The Tavor seemed to shoot better. In fact, I'm going to show some photographs right now of the Tavor shooting. I think it was circa 2012 when we did it. I forget, maybe 2013. We had some pretty close to 1 MOA groups with a variety of loads to include PMC, ball ammunition, 77 shot pretty good. We did get some like 2 to 3 inch groups for sure, and we showed you those. That was normal, but the gun was capable and is capable of some pretty good accuracy. So I was expecting the X95 to be about the same. Granted, this is a sample of one, and this is what we come up with. So here's 100 yards. This is me shooting. Yes, we're off the polymer table. Yes, we're in the desert. I don't remember wind being a factor at all. That's a beautiful group right there. Hornady 75s shot really good. I'm going to show you the shooting footage somewhere along the way. That is a half MOA, a little bit better. But that wasn't the norm. That's a really good group. All the Hornady 75 shot pretty good. This one opened up, same load. These are all Hornady 75s. This opened up 2.5. TacticalAmmunition.com makes some very accurate loads. I love them. They need to change their powder because in cold weather, not so reliable. Warm weather, it rocks. So, and I was very disappointed to see it print so poorly out of this gun. Poorly in that, what are we at? About 2 inches there. 1.5 there. 1.5 is actually pretty good. Razor, Israeli Military Industries, which shot so well out of the ARs when I reviewed it. Not so great. Look at these groups. That one's not horrible, unless that was a 5-shot group. I don't remember. I don't know what loads these are. I'm just going to fly past these super quick. Look at those. So that was a horrible group. I'm going to say that's a horrible group. Not good. Decent. Not good. And this is what we saw, typically speaking, out of X95. It would shoot, and then it'd open up. And all of these are good trigger presses. And we're like, it just seemed very unpredictable. Here's Jardine shooting. It's good to get someone else behind the trigger, see if it was a gun or me. That's a pretty good group there, but what is that, 2 inches? And I think I said the Tavor is about 2 MOA. That's about 3 inches. That's about 2.5. That's about 3. That's about, I'll say, well, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4.5 inches. I shot again with TAC A. I was like, let's just see if that was an anomaly. And no, it wasn't. This vertically strung, that is a big group. That one's decent. That one's not. That one's not. Now, by way of contrast, this is always fun to do. I'm going to go super quick. I'm going to throw in some targets from other guns we've shot. This is an AR-15 build using an AR Stoner barrel. And look at this. So that's about a 1/3 MOA. If it wasn't for the flyer, that would have been 2. That's about an inch group. That's 1.5 inch sub MOA. And that barrel, AR Stoner, ain't that great. You get the freaking Odin Works. Look at this group. You like this one? This is an Odin Works AR-15 at 300 yards. Yeah, that's no joke. I showed that in that video. And so here we're shooting at 300 yards. What this gun does at 100. And that's shooting that TAC A 77 grain boat tail hollow point OTM round. Dude. Here's the SPR Odinworks. Sorry, this is just interesting to me. Half of them, it's half MOA all day long with the Odinworks barrel. These are the ARs I build now. Look at the SIG MTX, dude. Yeah, that's MOA all day long. 300 yards with Odinworks. 2-inch group at 300 yards. So could the Tavor do that? I highly doubt it. There are some discussions about this polymer ring here, how the barrel's not free floated. Pull that out and it would shoot better. I didn't try that. I don't think it'd make much difference. It is what it is. You know, it's kind of a street fighting weapon. You know, do the Israelis care about sub-MOA accuracy in that philosophy of use? Probably not. What they do care about is reliability. That will take us there. And I'll tell you what, just like this Tavor, the gun was all day long reliable. Even with Wolf, crappy Wolf steel-cased ammunition, low-powered and dirty, it ran just fine. No adjustments needed whatsoever. There are none, but if there were, it wouldn't have needed it. Yeah, good job, X95. It's inheriting that combat reliability of the Tavor, and that's why I love the Tavor so much, is that it's just a proven weapon system. Now we have it. Not the lightest thing in the world, but dang, man, it's an awesome bullpup. I think the X95 is the same. And again, maybe if I got another X95 and shot it, we get better better groups for accuracy. But from my clicking around the internet after our testing was done, I think that's pretty representative. I'll call it 2 to 3 MOA out of the X95, and that's with ball. And I was really disappointed that it didn't shoot 75s and 77s consistently well. I mean, we got some really good groups like I just showed you, but not consistently. But as far as reliability, dudes, it has it going on. And I guess I'll take us to, I'm flying through this review, which is awesome. Track record. I've kind of already mentioned it. Combat guns, Galad, I hope I'm saying your name right, dude. Sorry if I'm not. At the booth, he was saying that some dude has shot 51,000 rounds out of his Tavor. You know, did he, didn't he? I don't know. Let's just say he did. Hasn't replaced anything. That does not surprise me at all. Parts are going to come flying off these guns. They're just super tough. I love that. You know, they're AK tough, really. I think a good AR-15, you know, 51,000 rounds, no. I think something's going to break. You're going to have to replace something, absolutely. I myself would never go through that many rounds. I think most guns that people buy won't see 500 rounds out of a civilian who does not compete. That's right. I think that's just totally honest. I forgot to mention A2 style birdcage on the front end. That's actually a Griffin Armament, I think M4SD2. Right there with a crush washer, and this has got a lock nut on it. I didn't run cans on it, but it'll run cans pretty good. There is a lot of blowback out of Tavors, probably the X95 when you do that. Is it more or less than a DI driven gun? I don't know. These are long stroke piston guns. They do suppress quite well. I will say this, and I don't know if I mentioned it, the threading on the Tavor with a lot of my thread on cans is just a little bit different. I mean, I can throw that can, screw it on, like an AR-15, no problems. When I put on Tavor, I don't know, the threading just seemed to be a little bit off. I think most of you guys, if you do run a can, will use a quick or a QD mount. I get it. I don't mind screwing cans, though. They work just fine. I did forget to mention the BUIS. I have a scope on here. This is just an old Burris that we have in for testing. That's a super cool mount. I forget what the name of it, but I'll put an annotation and in the description. I really like it. Got it from Brownells and FDE already. Tritium and very simple BUIS that pop up. They're integrated into the very long pick rail on the top. Didn't test them, didn't use them. That's a EOTech on there, and I just ran this, was it 4x12 for our drills that you'll see there. Quality levels are super high on both these guns, right? For instance, the polymer is, I think, 2nd or 3rd generation. I know 2nd generation because when they came out with the Micro Tavor, they shortened it. They were getting cracks in the polymer, and they said, let's upgrade it to UV resistant as well. I think they did the same with all the Tavors that have come over to the United States. So it's a very tough plastic, which isn't, you know, ground, you know, earth shattering, because so are the Glocks and a lot of other polymer guns. And that'll take us to, I guess, accessories. What would I change about the X95? And let me go back a little bit to what I said earlier. Which one would you buy, Nut and Fancy? If you're buying one out of the gate You have to choose between these two guns, which would you get? And this really drives to the accessories discussion. I go back to accuracy, and accuracy is huge for me. If you don't believe, go watch all my videos. I hammer on it. I want lightweight, I want reliable, I want accurate. An accurate gun makes up for my own inadequacies as a marksman. I just want my guns to be accurate. You know, it minimizes my own problems as a marksman. With that in mind, if I found from other testing that the X95 is not quite as accurate as Tavor, I would stick with the Tavor. I don't mind the pistol grip. I don't mind any of the controls. I can adapt to them just like any other weapon system with just a little bit of practice. That being said, this is more adaptable. I love the pistol grip on there. The mag release is more convenient. I do like the more options we have on the forward for the Picatinny rails. The integrated covers are super slick. They're well made. They don't rattle. They lock in place. They're mil spec. They're very cool. I just wish it shot 1.5 MOA. I do. Now, if a cold hammer forge 1-7 twist, should get it. Should get it there. Accessories, though, between the two guns, I think this will accessorize better because you got the 1913 up front. You have modularity once again back here. But at this point, there's a lot of stuff for the Tavor as well. Like I said, Gearhead, Ratworks, Manicore make stuff. On the X95, just like the Tavor, you can actually get in a 9mm blowback version and a 300 blackout version. I think that's more of a novelty, like I've said. I don't meet a lot of guys, if any guys, that buy the caliber conversions. They're going to buy whatever caliber they like and shoot it in that. Guys like to talk about it is definitely a marketing selling point that you could swap it over. It's a great thing for a department or a unit that is well funded. Hey guys, we're going to switch over to 9mm for this mission, this philosophy of use. We're going to run this caliber, or for training, you know, or we're going to run 300 for a certain mission, you know, because they're expensive. You know, you might want to just buy a different gun in that caliber. I've seen a lot of conversions on all types of guns flop. Okay, how about trigger? Would I change it? Learn to shoot it and deal with it to save money. But if it really, really bugs you, put in a Geisley, put in a Timney. I love that Timney trigger. I didn't say anything bad about it. It's just beautiful. Their second generation works great. Left-hand conversion if you want. I'll leave it at that. Firepower, by the way, I kind of just skimmed over that. Standard AR. Everything we ran in it worked. There's a C Products Lancer, which is one of my all-time favorite magazines. You know, Magpul. I didn't put any drums in it. But it's not an FS2000, which sucked. I mean, it was kind of specific, you know, with the mud guards it has in its magazine. Well, it's kind of problematic. Which actually takes us to options. Is this the best bullpup in the world, nutnfancy? I don't know. What's your video game say? I don't know if it's the best, but it definitely upholds Tavor's quality and reputation. Like I said, reliability is probably the most important. Mission configurability is, in a lot of people's minds, the second most important. And we talked about the caliber interchange if you want to do that. Changing things up here, down there. That's cool. The accuracy thing kind of lingers with me, kind of annoys me, to be totally honest. Always am. Yeah. For instance, the FS2000 we shot, which is no longer being imported, which is was a commercial failure here in the United States, shot MOA. I'm talking consistently. The FN FS2000. It was a weird gun. There's a lot of things I did not like about it, but accuracy definitely was not one of them. It was almost like a sniper bullpup. They might be collectible, by the way, so you might want to snatch up an FS2000 if you see them, because they may go up in value. Just saying. As long as they're legal to keep. If they change legalities, forget about it. Steyr AUG, I'm very lukewarm about it. I saw the guy who I loaned who I loaned the Steyr AUG from, and he was just, God, he's just giving me a rash of crap, dude. I said, hey man, you don't mind if I review it honestly? I will. And he's like, yeah, no problem. I gave it kind of a negative review, and he's like, oh man, I can't believe you don't like my gun. I was like, sorry. It is the way it is. Keltec RDB. It didn't run so good when it ran with us several years back. I think the newer versions are doing quite well. It's a stealth bullpup. It probably should get more press and more sales than it's actually getting. I will not sign off on that unless I can prove it myself, though, because Kel-Tec has some really great products and some other products you just go, what the hell? It just don't, until you can confirm it, I'm not signing off on it. An interesting option to this, it's not a bullpup, but I really want you to put it on your radar, unless you're really hard over on getting a bullpup, is, and I showed it to you, is a SIG MCX. I mean, I showed you that target. It's such a great gun. Has a folding stock. It's 7 pounds 3 ounces, dudes. The SIG MCX. It's amazing. I mean, you can like put certain cans, I think, will even fit under the OEM handguard. Just love that gun. It's got a decent trigger. It's just so cool. And you know, I'm kind of still lukewarm on bullpups. I've kind of gone back. For a while there when I was testing for, I was like, I really like them. Now I'm just like, oh, after shooting my ARs, I build, I don't know. The Beretta ARX, not a bullpup, but it shot about like this. It's about 3 MOA. It was not a super accurate gun. And I criticized the Beretta ARX for that, so I can't let this one go. Yeah. And it's actually very easily adaptable to left-handed shooters, the Beretta ARX. So you might want to look in that, and it's very lightweight. So it's very compact, lightweight. I didn't like its front bulbous handguard at all. Very goofy. But, you know, it's cheaper than this one. This one's going to MSRP at $2,000. The thing with Tavors, though, is they will sell and they will keep their value. They will. They are in demand. The word is out on the Tavors. The word is out on the X95. I love the gun. I really like the colors, the quality. The only bad thing I can really say about it is the weight, the accuracy, and the trigger. Hey, kind of sounds like this gun. Except I didn't complain about the accuracy on the Tavor. Again, these are very small sample sizes, so I don't know if you want to project that across all of internet dumb. That's it, dudes. If you want an X95, I think you're getting a great gun, but that's a lot of money to spend. And for that $2,000, or let's just call it $1,700 to $1,800, you could go out and build some pretty sweet guns. Just look at it. Just look at it. Depends what you want. That's a review. See ya.